High above a spiral arm of the galaxy, Celestial Station Alpha spun slowly in the darkness of space. Its gleaming silver towers reached out like fingers toward the stars, catching the light of 3 nearby suns. Inside the Grand Council chamber, Representative Sumkey adjusted his formal white robes and looked out at the gathered members of the Galactic Council. The chamber was huge, shaped like a bowl with rings of seats rising up toward the ceiling. Different species from across the galaxy sat in their designated areas. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few were even made of living crystal. But all of them shared one thing. They believed in peace above all else. Sumkey smiled as he remembered how they had achieved this peace. 300 years ago, the different species had decided to stop fighting and work together. Since then, they had built the greatest civilization in known space. They solved problems by talking, not fighting. Their ships were beautiful rather than powerful. Their weapons were meant to stun, not kill. Honored members, Sumkey's voice carried across the chamber, enhanced by hidden speakers. Today marks another wonderful year of peace in our galaxy. Our science ships have mapped new stars, our doctors have cured 3 more diseases, and our artists have created wonderful new works. The members clapped politely. In the front row, High Admiral Hawan sat straight in her chair. Her uniform was spotless, though she had never seen actual combat. No one had, not for centuries. The defense fleet she commanded was mostly for show, beautiful ships that patrolled trade routes and helped lost vessels. But then Officer Du Young rushed into the chamber. His steps echoed as he hurried to Sumkey's podium. Everyone watched as he whispered something in the representative's ear. Sumkey's face changed from happy to worried. "My friends," Sumkey said slowly, "our border sensors have picked up something strange. There are unusual energy readings from the dark sector." The dark sector was what they called the unexplored part of the galaxy. No one had gone there because there had been no reason to. The Council had plenty of space already. Admiral Hawan stood up. "The readings are unlike anything we've seen before," she said. "They don't match any known ship type. The energy levels are—" She paused, checking her data pad. "They're higher than our biggest ships." The chamber filled with worried whispers. Counselor Myre, her blue scales shimmering, spoke up. Could it be a natural phenomenon? A space storm, perhaps? "No," Du Young said. He pushed his glasses up his nose and pointed to his screen. "The pattern is too regular. It's artificial. Something, or someone, is out there." Sumkey raised his hands for quiet. "We should not jump to conclusions. For 300 years, we have faced every challenge with wisdom and peace. If there is someone new out there, we will welcome them as we have welcomed all others." But Admiral Hawan wasn't so sure. She looked at the energy readings again and felt a chill. The Council ships were built to be safe and comfortable. Their engines were efficient but not powerful. These readings showed something different, something built for power, not beauty. "I recommend we send a patrol to investigate," she said, "just to be safe." Sumkey nodded. "Agreed. But remember, we are diplomats first. If we find someone new, we offer friendship. That is our way." As the Council members talked about what to do, no one noticed Officer Du Young's hands shaking as he looked at more sensor data. The numbers didn't make sense to him. How could anything generate that much power? What kind of civilization would need ships that strong? The Council had ruled the galaxy with peace for so long that they have forgotten something important. Not everyone solved their problems by talking. Some civilizations grew strong because they had to fight to survive. And somewhere out there in the dark sector, humanity's first interstellar warship was about to teach them that lesson. The sun began to set outside the station's windows, casting long shadows through the chamber. As the Council made their plans for a peaceful first contact, they had no idea that their perfect world was about to change forever. The age of simple peace was ending. The age of humanity was about to begin. On the bridge of the Council patrol ship Star Seeker, Officer Jaiwan stared at her screen with wide eyes. The signal was getting stronger. 3 days had passed since the council meeting, and now her ship was deep in the dark sector, following the mysterious energy readings. "Captain Kaiho," she called out, her voice tight with worry. The signal just doubled in strength. Captain Kaiho floated over to her station. Like many council ships, the Star Seeker had no artificial gravity. They believed it was more natural to float. His silver uniform sparkled under the soft bridge lights. "Show me," he said. Jaiwan's fingers moved across her screen, bringing up the data. Red lines spiked across the display, far higher than anything they'd seen before. Next to her, Science Officer Du Young, who had joined the mission after reporting to the council, shook his head in disbelief. "These energy levels," Du Young muttered, "they're impossible. No ship needs this much power just to travel through space." The Star Seeker wasn't alone. 2 other patrol ships, the Dawn Light and Peace Walker, flew nearby. They were beautiful vessels, their hulls curved like seashells, painted in whites and blues. They looked more like flying art than spaceships. Suddenly, all the screens on the bridge flashed red. "New contact," G1 shouted. "Something just appeared at the edge of our sensors. It's huge." The ship's main screen lit up, showing a massive shape emerging from the darkness. Unlike the smooth, artistic lines of council ships, this vessel was angular and dark. It had thick armor plates and what looked like weapon ports along its sides. Most shocking of all, it was moving faster than any council ship could travel. "Try to talk to them," Captain Kaiho ordered. Communications Officer Sumin pressed her hands to her headset, sending standard greeting on all frequencies. Her voice trembled slightly. Message reads, "Welcome, unknown vessel. We are representatives of the Galactic Council, here in peace." They waited. The dark ship kept coming closer. "No response," Sumin reported. "I'll try again with different language patterns." Do Young was scanning the ship intensely. "Captain, I'm detecting materials we've never seen before in their hull. And their engine. It's not using normal space drive. It's doing something to space itself." The bridge crew watched in amazement as the alien ship performed a maneuver that should have been impossible. It turned sharply, without the gradual, elegant curves that council ships needed to make. "More readings," Jai-1 reported. "I'm detecting energy weapons, but they're powered down. And there's something else. Solid metal objects in rotating chambers along their hull. What kind of civilization builds ships like this?" Someone whispered. Captain Kaiho straightened his uniform. "Remember our training," he said calmly. "The Council has welcomed many new species. This will be no different." But it was different. Every Council species had joined peacefully, their ships designed for exploration and comfort. This vessel was clearly built for something else. "Captain," Jai-1's voice cracked with alarm. "They're scanning us. Their sensors. They're going right through our shields like they're not even there." Do Young rushed to his own station. "Impossible. Our shields are based on advanced energy patterns. Nothing can." He stopped talking as new data filled his screen. "They're not just scanning our ships. They're reading everything. Our engine designs, our power systems, our defense capabilities." The dark ship hung in space before them, like a predator studying its prey. Its hull seemed to absorb the light from nearby stars, making it look like a hole in space. "Message from Dawn Light," Sumin announced. "They're saying we should go back and report to the Council. This is beyond our mission parameters." Captain Kaiho looked at the mysterious ship on the screen. For the first time in his career, he felt real fear. Not just for himself, but for the entire Council. They had built their society on the belief that all advanced civilizations would naturally choose peace. But this ship told a different story. "Send a message to Celestial Station Alpha," he ordered. "Priority 1. Tell them." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Tell them we found something new, something that could change everything." As the message was sent, the crew of the Star Seeker watched the alien vessel, not knowing they were the first Council citizens to see a human warship, not knowing that their peaceful galaxy was about to learn why humanity still believed in preparing for war. Ambassador Yunho stood on the bridge of the Council's diplomatic ship, Garden of Peace. It was the biggest and most beautiful ship in the Council fleet, built to impress new species with its elegant design. The walls were covered in living plants from 100 worlds, and soft music played through hidden speakers. But today, Yunho wasn't feeling peaceful. The reports from the patrol ships had caused such alarm that the Council sent him immediately, hoping the senior diplomat could handle the situation. "We're approaching the contact point," Captain Hanbin announced. His fingers tapped nervously on his control panel. Behind the Garden of Peace, 4 more Council ships followed as escorts. "Show me the human ship again," Yunho requested. The main screen lit up with an image that still shocked him. The human vessel was called HMS Thunderchild, according to the patrol ship reports. It looked nothing like the bright, smooth Council ships. Instead, it was gray and black, with heavy armor and visible weapon ports. Even its name suggested violence. "Ambassador," Communications Officer Mirai called out, "I'm picking up a signal from the human ship. They're using simple radio waves." Yunho smiled. Perhaps these humans weren't as advanced as they feared. "Put them through." A deep voice filled the bridge. "Council vessel, this is Captain Richard Chen of HMS Thunderchild. Hold position and identify yourselves." The voice was firm, commanding. This wasn't a request. It was an order. Yunho stepped forward. "Greetings, Captain. I am Ambassador Yunho of the Galactic Council. We come in peace and friendship. Our ship is unarmed, as are all Council vessels. We would be honored to." "Unarmed?" The human captain interrupted. "You brought 5 ships into unknown space without weapons. That's either very brave or very foolish." The bridge crew looked at each other in confusion. In Council space, having weapons was seen as uncivilized. No one had spoken to them this way in centuries. "Captain," Yunho tried again, "perhaps we could meet. Our ship has beautiful meeting rooms designed for." Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. "Ambassador," Security Chief Wanil shouted. "The human ship just powered up its weapons. All systems are hot." "Impossible," Yunho whispered. "We told them we're peaceful." Captain Hanbin's face went pale. "They're launching something. Small objects, moving fast." "Those are scout drones," the human captain's voice came back. "Standard procedure when meeting unknown vessels. They will scan your ships thoroughly." Mirai's hands shook as she checked her readings. "The drones. They're armed." The small machines zipped around the Council ships, their sensors cutting through shields that had never been designed to stop real weapons. The Council crew watched in horror as detailed scans of their ships appeared on the human vessel's screens. "Ambassador Yunho," Captain Chen's voice was cold now. "Our scans show your ships have minimal armor and no real defenses. You claim to represent a galactic council, yet you travel through space completely vulnerable. Explain." Yunho felt sweat on his forehead. Everything was going wrong. These humans didn't understand. They were supposed to be impressed by the Council's peaceful ways, not angry about them. "Please," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "The Council has maintained peace for 300 years. We don't need weapons. We solve our problems through." Multiple ships detected. Wanil shouted, "Coming out of faster-than-light travel." They're Council ships. 3 more Council vessels appeared, led by Admiral Ha-1's flagship. They had been waiting nearby, ready to help with first contact. But to the humans, it looked like an ambush. "Council vessels." Captain Chen's voice turned hard as steel. "You have 30 seconds to explain why you just tried to surround a warship of the human Space Force." "No, you don't understand," Yunho cried. "We're not trying to." But it was too late. The human ship's weapon ports were fully open now. Strange devices that the Council had never seen before were pointing at their ships. The HMS Thunderchild's engines glowed with impossible power, ready to move faster than any council ship could follow. 300 years of peace had taught the council to expect the best from every new species. But as Ambassador Yunho watched the human warship prepare for a fight that would shatter the council's perfect world, he realized a hard truth. Some species never forgot how to fight because they never had the luxury of peace. Lieutenant Wu Jin couldn't believe his eyes. From his position at the weapons console of Admiral Hao Wan's flagship, Star Guardian, he watched as the human warship moved in ways that should have been impossible. All ships, hold position. Admiral Hao Wan ordered, her voice shaking. Power up emergency shields. But Council emergency shields weren't made for real combat. They were designed to protect ships from space rocks and solar flares, not weapons. The human ship, HMS Thunderchild, seemed to know this. They're targeting our engines. Wu Jin shouted. Red lights flashed across his screen. But I've never seen weapons like these. The first shot wasn't an energy beam like in Council training videos. Instead, the human ship fired something solid. A metal shell moving at incredible speed. It hit the Shield of Dawn, one of the Council's escort ships. The Council crew watched in horror as the shell went straight through the ship's beautiful shields like they weren't even there. The Shield of Dawn's engine section exploded, sending the ship spinning. How? Admiral Hao Wan whispered. Our shield stopped all energy weapons. That's not an energy weapon. Science Officer Bin Su screamed from his station. It's just a piece of metal moving really fast. We never thought, never planned for. He couldn't finish because the human ship fired again. This time it used energy weapons, but they were nothing like the weak stun beams Council ships carried. Blue beams cut through space, slicing off the Garden of Peace's communication arrays. Admiral. Captain Han Bin's voice came through broken and scared. We can't run. Their weapons are holding us in place somehow. Wu Jin looked at his own weapons panel. The Council ships had small stun beams that could barely scratch paint. Against the human warship's thick armor, they would do nothing. The HMS Thunderchild moved again, showing speed that made Council engines look like toys. It circled the Council fleet in seconds, its weapons never stopping their lock on critical systems. This is Captain Chen, the human voice came through all speakers. Your ships are disabled. Your technology is centuries behind ours in combat capability. Surrender now. Admiral Hao Wan stood up from her chair. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was firm. We surrender. Please, please don't hurt my crew. We truly came in peace. A new sound filled the bridge, something like laughter from the human ship. You came in peace with 8 ships. Captain Chen asked. To meet one unknown vessel. In our history, only enemies approach in greater numbers. No. Admiral Hao Wan said quickly. We brought many ships to show you honor, to show you the beauty of the Council fleet. There was a long pause. The human ship stopped moving, but its weapons stayed ready. Are you saying, Captain Chen's voice was different now, almost confused, that you really don't have any weapons? That your ships are just pretty? Of course, Bin Su shouted. All advanced species know that war is primitive. We haven't needed weapons for 300 years. More silence. The Council crews waited, hearts pounding. Through the viewing screens, they could see escape pods launching from the damaged Shield of Dawn. At least their emergency systems still worked. Finally, Captain Chen spoke again. Admiral, Ambassador, all Council personnel, power down your engines completely. We will send rescue ships for the crew of the damaged vessel. Then we need to talk. There's something you need to understand about humans and why we build ships like this. As Wu Jin watched the human rescue ships launch, he noticed something strange. They were heavily armed too, even though they were just rescue boats. The humans built everything ready for a fight, even their helper ships. Look, someone shouted. On the screens, they could see inside the human rescue ships. The crews wore powered armor, carried weapons, But they were so gentle with the council crew members they were rescuing. They moved fast but carefully, making sure no one was hurt. Admiral Hawan sank back in her chair. 300 years, she said softly. For 300 years, we thought we knew everything about civilization. We thought peace meant no one needed weapons anymore. She looked at the human ships, so powerful yet so careful with their rescue. But these humans, they're showing us something new. They have the power to destroy us, but they choose to help instead. The battle was over, but its message was clear. The Council's age of innocent peace had ended. Now they had to learn from the humans. Sometimes keeping peace meant being strong enough to protect it. Commander Ta-Sung sat in the data center of Celestial Station Alpha, his eyes fixed on the screen before him. After the battle, the humans had shared information about their history. What he found shocked him to his core. "This can't be right," he said, rubbing his tired eyes. "Security Chief In-Soo, look at these dates again." In-Soo leaned over his shoulder. On the screen was a timeline of human history. Unlike the Council races, who had all developed slowly and peacefully, humans had rushed to the stars in a matter of centuries. They went from their first powered flight to space travel in less than 70 years. In-Soo said, his voice full of wonder. And look at why. Because they were competing with each other. The screen showed images of Earth's history. While Council worlds had grown through careful planning and cooperation, humans had raced forward, driven by something the Council had forgotten long ago: competition. But this is the really scary part, Tai-Sung said, pulling up another file. Their first ships weren't for exploration. They were weapons. Everything they built to fight first. The doors slid open, and Admiral Hawan walked in. She looked different now. Her perfect uniform was wrinkled, and her eyes showed she hadn't slept much since the battle. "What have you found?" she asked. "Humans are young," In-Soo replied. "Really young. Most Council races took 1,000 years to reach the stars. Humans did it in less than 300 years. How?" Tai-Sung pressed a button, and new images filled the screen. "War," he said simply. "They fought wars. Big ones. Each time they fought, they made better weapons, faster ships, stronger materials. Every human advancement came from trying to be stronger than their enemies." Admiral Hawan sat down heavily. "While we were making our ships prettier, they were making theirs tougher. While we were removing weapons to show our peace, they were building better ones to protect their peace." "There's more," In-Soo said. "Look at their rescue teams during the battle. Their medics wear armor. Their repair ships have guns. Even their science vessels carry weapons." He shook his head in amazement. "But they're not violent. They're prepared." Tai-Sung pulled up footage from the battle. The human ship could have destroyed the entire Council fleet. Instead, it had disabled them carefully, then helped the crew it had stranded. "They're warriors," Admiral Hawan said softly. "But they're good warriors. They build weapons not because they want to fight, but because they never want to be helpless." The door opened again. A young officer rushed in, holding a datapad. "Commander, the humans just sent us their ship designs. They want to help us." The screens filled with new information. The humans were offering to teach the Council about defensive shields that could stop real weapons, not just space dust. They wanted to show them how to build engines that could outrun danger. They even offered to help set up early warning systems. "Look at this note from Captain Chen," In-Soo said, reading from his screen. "We protect our friends. The Council's peace is beautiful, but the galaxy is big. Let us help you keep that peace safe." Admiral Hawan stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the HMS Thunderchill docked at the station. Its dark hull stood out among the shining Council ships, like a guardian watching over something precious. 300 years ago, she said, the Council races chose peace. We thought that meant forgetting how to fight. But the humans, they're teaching us something different. True peace doesn't mean being helpless. It means being strong enough to protect what matters. Tae-sung looked at more human history on his screen. They fought their way to the stars, he said, but look what they do with their strength. They rescue people. They protect the weak. They build mighty ships not to conquer, but to guard. The council is changing, Insu added. Some members are scared of the humans. Others want to learn from them. But everyone agrees. We can't go back to pretending the galaxy is always safe. Admiral Howon touched the window, looking at her reflection next to the human ship. Maybe this is what we really needed, she said. Not just 300 years of peace, but friends strong enough to help us keep that peace forever. Outside the window, the HMS Thunderchild's hull gleamed in the starlight, a reminder that sometimes the best guardians of peace are those who remember how fragile it can be. The Grand Council chamber was louder than it had been in 300 years. Representative Sung-ki stood at his podium, trying to keep order as council members shouted at each other. The peace that had lasted for centuries was breaking apart. "We must build weapons immediately," shouted Councillor Hyun-chik, his scales changing color with excitement. "The humans have shown us how weak we are." "No." Councillor Min-seo stood up, her crystal form glowing with anger. "Weapons are not the answer. We must stay true to our peaceful ways." At the center of the room, Officer Jin Woo stood nervously. He had been asked to show everyone what happened during the battle. The young officer touched his control panel, and a large hologram appeared in the air. "As you can see," Jin Woo said, trying to keep his voice steady, "the human ship disabled our entire fleet in less than 5 minutes, but they were careful not to kill anyone." The council members watched in silence as the battle played out again. They saw their beautiful ships become helpless. They saw the human warship's power. But most importantly, they saw how the humans helped afterward. "These humans confused me," said Councillor Hyun-chik. "They have the power to destroy, but they choose to protect. How can they be both warriors and peacekeepers?" Representative Sung-ki raised his hands for quiet. "Perhaps we should hear from Admiral Howon." She met the humans face to face. Admiral Howon walked to the center of the room. She looked different now, more confident, more serious. Her uniform had changed too. It was still neat, but now it was made for work, not just for show. "Honored Council," she began, "the humans have taught us an important lesson. Peace is precious, but it must be protected. They don't build weapons because they want war. They build them because they want peace to last." The chamber erupted in argument again. Some council members nodded in agreement. Others shouted in protest. Centuries of tradition were being challenged. "Listen." Hadwan's voice cut through the noise. "The humans have offered to help us. Not to make us warriors, but to teach us how to protect ourselves. They say the galaxy is bigger and more dangerous than we know." Officer Jin Woo changed the hologram. Now it showed human rescue ships helping council crew members. It showed human medics treating the injured. It showed human engineers helping repair damaged council ships. "Look at their actions," Sung-ki said softly. "They could have conquered us. Instead, they offer friendship and protection." But Councillor Min-seo wasn't convinced. "If we accept their help, we accept their way of thinking. We will become like them, always preparing for war." "No," said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Ambassador Yunho enter the chamber. He had been speaking with the humans for days. "They don't prepare for war. They prepare to prevent it. There's a difference." The hologram changed again, showing the HMS Thunderchill docked at their station. Its dark hull made their ships look fragile in comparison. "The humans have a saying," Yunho continued. "Peace through strength." They believe that showing weakness invites trouble, but showing strength while choosing peace. He smiled. "That is what truly keeps war away." Slowly, the council began to split into groups. The largest group, led by Hyun-chik, wanted to learn from the humans while keeping council values. A smaller group wanted nothing to change, and a tiny group wanted to copy everything the humans did. Representative Sumkey looked out at the divided council. For 300 years, they had all agreed on everything. Now they had different ideas, different plans. But maybe that wasn't bad. Perhaps, he said, this is what we needed. Not just peace, but the wisdom to keep it. Not just dreams, but the strength to protect them. As the council members argued and debated, a message appeared on the main screen. The humans were offering to build a joint defense station, a place where council ships could learn to be stronger while teaching humans about peace. The old council was breaking apart, but something new was growing in its place, something that combined human strength with council wisdom. The galaxy was changing, and they would need to change with it. Outside the chamber windows, council ships and the HMS Thunderchill floated side by side. Different, but together, like the future they would build. 6 months after the first contact with the human warship, Celestial Station Alpha looked very different. Next to the shining council towers, a new structure had been built. The Joint Defense Command Center was dark and strong, like the human ships that now patrolled council space alongside the colorful council vessels. Ambassador Kita walked through its halls, noticing how human and council design styles had started to blend. The walls were strong but beautiful. The rooms were built for both comfort and safety. It was a perfect symbol of how things had changed. Ambassador, a voice called. Captain Chen of the HMS Thunderchill approached, smiling. He looked different in person than he had during their first scary meeting. Ready for the ceremony? Kita nodded. Today was important. The council and humans would officially become allies. But more than that, the council itself had changed in ways no one expected. They entered the new council chamber together. Unlike the old one, this room was built to be both beautiful and strong. Council members sat with human representatives, talking and sharing ideas. Admiral Hawan stood at the front of the room. Her uniform was new, still elegant, but now made for real work. Behind her, screens showed council ships practicing defensive moves with human teachers. Friends, she began, 6 months ago, we thought we knew everything about civilization. We were wrong. She touched a control, and the screen showed the changes they had made. The first images showed new council ships. They were still beautiful, but now they had strong shields and careful weapons, not for fighting, but for protection. Human engineers had helped design them, mixing council grace with human strength. Our fleet is different now, Hawan continued. Not because we want war, but because we finally understand. Peace isn't just about being peaceful, it's about being strong enough to keep that peace safe. The screens changed again, showing human ships. They had changed too. The sharp edges were softer now, influenced by council design. Their dark halls had plants and art, making them feel less like warships and more like homes that could fight if they had to. Representative Sumkey stood up next. In 6 months, he had learned to balance the old council ways with new human ideas. We haven't lost our values, he said. We've made them stronger. The humans didn't teach us to love war. They taught us to protect what we love. Captain Chen walked to the front. And you've taught us too, he said. We came from a world that made us strong. But you've shown us how to use that strength wisely, how to make peace without giving up the power to defend it. Together, they pressed a button. The screens lit up with a new symbol, a human sword wrapped in council flowers. Under it were words in both human and council language. Peace through wisdom and strength. Kita watched as council members and humans signed the new alliance treaty. It wasn't just about protection. Humans would learn council science and art. The council would learn human engineering and defense. They would make each other better. Look, Captain Chen said softly, pointing out the window. A new ship was floating past the station. It had been built together by humans and the council. It had strong shields and careful weapons like human ships, but it also had beautiful gardens and artwork like council ships. Its name was painted in both languages, Star Guardian Ai, Protector of Peace. That's the future, Admiral Howan said proudly. Not just pretty ships that can't protect anyone. Not just warships that forget about beauty, but vessels that can do both. Protect the peace and show why it's worth protecting. As Kita watched humans and council members talking and working together, he remembered how scared they had been 6 months ago. Now that fear was gone. The humans had shown them how to be strong without being cruel. The council had shown the humans how to be peaceful without being weak. The old council hadn't really shattered. It had grown up, changed, become wiser. And now, with their human allies beside them, they were ready for whatever the galaxy might bring. Outside the station, council ships and human vessels patrolled together. Different but united. Strong but peaceful. Ready to protect the dream of peace that both sides now shared. The galaxy had changed. And thanks to an unexpected meeting between a human warship and a peaceful council, it had changed for the better.